Starting a Minecraft village can be kind of a daunting task, especially if you don't know how you want to lay everything out. Where do you want your rivers? Where do you want your walls? Where do you want all of the different districts inside of that village? So in today's episode, I'm going to show you guys how I lay out my villages in order to give you guys a rough idea of how to lay out your own. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's jump right into it. Okay, so to start off this village project, the first thing that we're gonna do is flatten out this area. Any type of huge deformations in the terrain, we're going to get rid of. So any of these water lakes that are here, we're going to fill in with grass blocks. Any holes, any ravines, anything that you have that is in the way of your village area, you're gonna want to fill it in with grass blocks to give yourself a nice palette to start fresh with. Also, if you need to push back any of the terrain just to where it's not so sharp, also do that as well. You basically want a relatively flat canvas here to work with. Once you get all of these water features filled in though, you're going to want to start building your wall. Now the wall is going to serve a couple of purposes. The first purpose is to actually cut off lines of sight to the outside of your village. That way, whenever you're inside of your village, it feels self-contained and actually filled in. It feels like you are in an area, you are in a village. So cutting off lines of sight to emptiness that is outside of your village is going to be key. Also, your wall is going to serve the purpose of defenses. This is going to defend the rest of the world off from your villagers if you plan on putting villagers in your village. This will keep them protected for the most part. You'll obviously have to work out some type of gate system in order to let yourself in and out, but overall, you're going to want a wall going around the outside. Now, notice that this wall is rigid. It is not straight, and that adds to some of the naturalness of what we're trying to go for here. Things that were built back in the Middle Ages were not straight and perfect. They were kind of thrown together, and that's what we're going for here. You'll notice that we're using some blue concrete in the background. That is to represent a river that we have going in, and now we're working on our paths and our town square. So first and foremost, before we get anything done as far as building goes, we first want to get all of our paths laid out. We want to get our rivers laid out. We want to get how we're traversing the city laid out, because that is going to be important. You'll also notice that we're making a circle here in the center. That is going to be kind of our town square. That's where we're going to be able to divert off to any portion of the city that we want to. Past that, we're going to make another entrance over here on the right side, and then we're going to start divvying up this area into districts. So each one of these areas is going to have a slightly different theme to it. This one here that I'm building is going to be more of a slums area, something where your not so good villagers would be staying. So think wood houses, things like that would fill in this area. Each one of these districts are going to have a different build style, and that's something that really makes towns feel alive, and that not a lot of people do whenever they're constructing villages. The next section that we're going to do is going to be in lime green. It's going to be not really your slums and your terrible villagers, but it's going to be more of your middle class villagers, kind of some of your residents for the area. Things like butchers and stuff like that would go in this area. Next up, we have the red district that is being built off in the distance, and this is the cleric district. This is going to be your churches, your libraries, and it's also a very big area. We're also going to add in a very small pond back here with kind of a park for these people who are of the upper class, the richer class, to come in, sit around, and have their own segregated park for the missionaries and the librarians and stuff to read at and stuff like that. Basically just trying to make that area feel very, very high class. Across from that is going to be the darker industrial district. This is going to be laid out with some cyan concrete. And this is going to be all of your blacksmiths, weaponsmiths, armories. This is going to be big, bulky buildings, mostly made out of stone. You can also, I kind of plan on doing like a barracks behind some of these buildings as well. And your barracks would house things like soldiers, so maybe you have your armor smith in there as well. But there's a lot that you can do with the industrial district, from forges to barracks to anything that is kind of medieval and war-y, you can do in this district. And that's something that I really like about the industrial district. And I'm also putting it kind of toward the back of the village so that it's closer to the castle, which we'll talk about a bit later. The next district that we're working on here will be laid out in purple, and it's really going to be only one building with a silo out the back. That is right, this is for the farmer, and we're also laying out all the farmland around with some light blue concrete and some coarse dirt to represent where those farmlands are going to go. The next district is going to be a shopping district, so we're just going to line up some stalls over and over again, and basically all of your villagers would stay in here, and this is just kind of a marketplace. You'll also notice that here in a minute I'm going to reroute some of our paths. Remember that while you're planning things are not technically set in stone. Yes, you're using stone to lay out things, but it's not set in stone. You can change your mind and redesign things however you feel. Next, we have the castle, and a castle layout that looks decent in this area is not going to look decent in every area. So this is just a layout for a castle design that I could build, and it's going to be kind of a corner castle. It's not going to be anything spectacular. It's going to have 2 towers on it, and also a lookout over the river. It's a nice castle. It's a kind of small castle, but it would be something that would overlook the rest of the village and would do its job well. Alrighty, ladies and gents, so let me give you guys a quick run through of the village that we have planned out. As you walk through the gates over here, you're going to be faced with 2 districts. The one on your left is going to be more of a general villager area. It's going to be places for your cartographers or your butchers, anything like that, kind of your standard villagers. Over to your right, you're going to have your villagers that aren't really super useful. Any of your villagers that, you don't get the best trades from, leatherworker, fletcher, anything like that, are going to be over to your right. So these are your 2 smaller districts that are not as useful. Basically, these are areas for you to cram a bunch of villagers into and give yourself a much more alive feel in this area. Moving toward the left from your town center is going to be your red district. Your red district is going to be for your clerics. It's going to be about religion. You're going to have churches and libraries and things like that over in your red district. It's a much higher class district, and it also has its own little tranquility area over here. Maybe a park, maybe a tranquility garden, anything like that over in this area, just for them to go and ponder at by themselves. No one else is kind of allowed in that area. Over here in the middle, we have the darker colored concrete, which is going to symbolize our industrial district. Things like forges and things like that are going to be in this area, as well as this area is going to be mostly made out of stone in order to kind of combat the heat from all of the forges and stuff running. So this would be an area for places like your toolsmith, weaponsmith, armorsmith, all of that would go inside here, as well as we have ourselves a small guard tower to overlook our river that we have going through here. Up on top of here is our castle. This is a very, very small castle and kind of a general layout for a castle as well. I'm not too sure how much I like this design, but it is something that would work. The throne room is set back just a little bit from the main entranceway. We have ourselves a tower over on this side that has an outcropping to overlook the river in order to defend it. And we also have another tower over here to mimic the one on the other side. Very simple castle, but this would be where your major guys live, whether it be you, the player, or maybe a super special villager that you want to be king of your village. Moving on around from your industrial district, you're going to have this purple district here that is the farming district, and I've denoted that with the coarse dirt as well as the water, and that's going to be all farmland. And then we're going to have one big building here that is going to house our farmers. So not a whole lot of room for them, but if you wanted a bigger village, you could always extend out your wall and make some more farmland or some more buildings for your villagers. Over here to the right of that, we have a marketplace. This is going to be a market for people to sell things. Any type of villager that you want can really go in here. I would suggest some of your better villagers going in here and then really locking down this area. But no matter, this is how I go about laying out my villages. This is how I create a town center. This is how I get some of my water features in. This is a general layout before I actually start building. Now I know the direction in which I'm trying to go whenever I'm making a village. Now it's just a matter of actually putting the buildings in, doing some decoration stuff with bushes and trees and stuff like that. But for the most part, this is the village done. This is it planned out, and you can kind of see whenever it's done, it's going to look relatively good because you already have it planned. So anyway, guys, I do hope that you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like on the video, as well as if you're new around here, be sure to subscribe. And if you want to see this village or another style of planning video done, let me know in the comments section down below. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for me today. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. You guys have a great day.